There is one event that the recent Star Trek histories revolve around that we know next to nothing about, that being the Romulan supernova that wiped out Romulus and caused the diaspora of the Romulan people with the fracturing of their star empire. A legitimate question is often asked among the fandom, and that is, how did this happen? Supernovas are kind of obvious and telegraphed events, measurable and predictable, so why did this one not only endanger the area it did, but then subsequently wipe out Romulus to the extent where the Federation had to step in to assist? We don't actually have an answer in canon, but we do have several dropped hints and a reasonable apocryphal explanation from Star Trek Online's universe. Back to the start, the whole notion of the supernova destroying Romulus was introduced for the inciting factor behind the Star Trek 2009 prequel film. The event, in 2387, led to Ambassador Spock attempting to use red matter on behalf of the Vulcan Science Council in a last-ditch attempt to consume the supernova with an artificial black hole. It succeeded, but not before the Romulus system was consumed. That is all we know from that film. Suffice to say, they did not even specify which star it was that exploded, just that it was in Romulan territory. This, of course, left many scratching their heads, because a supernova, while capable of destroying a solar system, should not expand to the point of it threatening all of Romulan space and even the Federation. This is where the Countdown prequel comics came in, and, as beta content often do, added some context and jargon to fix the issue. It revealed that the supernova, for some reason, was bound up in subspace, that faster-than-light realm where physics and laws do not apply. It's a needed component of warp travel, FTL communications, and so on in Star Trek, and used as the extra spice to flavour any faster-than-light stuff. So, the supernova, for some reason, enters subspace too, allowing it to move effectively at warp speeds. As for the speed at which the Sun went supernova, we can more or less predict the age of a star, and while not the exact date of a supernova with our current technology, we can make educated guesses based on the total lifetime of a star, so there is another mystery here to look into. Enter Star Trek Online's reasoning. Now, Star Trek Online follows a prime timeline to a point, but it is in its own continuity despite sharing similarities in our technologies with the prime timeline. So this reason is not canon, but still offers some insight. In this narrative, former Praetor Taris, yes, that Taris who discovered Iconia, was involved in the deployment of a device into the Hobus star. This device caused the supernova and left her guilt-mad and desperate. This was all done in preparation for the return of the Iconians, who wanted to cripple a potential threat to their upcoming invasion. So that is one continuity. This is where we now look into the Star Trek Picard prequel books, The Last Best Hope and the following The Dark Veil. In The Last Best Hope, the Federation Observatory at Greenwich observes that the Romulan sun is beginning to show signs it's going up. It's impossible that the Romulans do not also know this, yet the Federation has heard zero chatter about it, and no one within the Star Empire seems to be talking about it. This was in 2381, 2 years after Star Trek Nemesis. The Empire is keeping it quiet, because the state wants to avoid a panic and remain in control. Of course, the government officials are conveniently arranging extended holidays and visits to other systems for the next few years and setting their affairs in order, while the common populace is ignorant. Picard takes on the role of Admiral to petition the Federation to allow him to assist, and the plans for the ill-fated evacuation fleet are set in motion. I have a timeline video for these events in full detail. Meanwhile, on Romulus, the scientists observing the sun find themselves being sworn to secrecy and threatened by the state, as those in power begin to pick and choose who is going to be left behind. Dissenters and controversial figures and such. This unfolds over the next 4 years, with the Federation assistance, which too is strictly overseen by the Romulan Navy and Tal Shiar, chaperoning the Starfleet evacuation ships away from the secretive parts of the Romulan Empire, who also manage all communications. Greenwich Observatory also notes that something about the emissions from the Romulan star seem off. It seems unnatural. Skipping past the event itself, in which many Romulan civilians are consumed in the fires of their star, we move to 2386, The Dark Veil. This book follows Commander Riker and the Titan trying to assist a group of artificial lifeforms. However, there are Romulans involved here too, and one is a Zatvash, so they are bound to destroy AI at whatever cost. Long story short, here we meet a scientist called Vandrel. He is coerced into cooperating with the Tau Shi'ar because he is under a false identity and their protection after being involved in the cause of the Romulan supernova. It is not revealed what he did, but it is assumed that he was part of some government-funded experiment that resulted in the destabilization of their sun. This would suggest that the Romulans destroyed their own sun, seemingly by accident, but it was all tied to some secret project that was covered up. This is similar to Star Trek Online's reasoning, but honestly I find this more believable than the ancient return of the Iconians. Overall, both the Picard books and Star Trek Online allude to the supernova being an artificially induced one, with the latter introducing the idea of a subspace element to the blast that would radiate it across a far wider area. This seems to be used in further reference books, with the event itself being referred to as a subspace supernova, so for all intents and purposes, it is all but confirmed that the explosion was unnatural. What started as a needed plot point for a film turned into a pivotal event in Star Trek canon, and one in need of justification and exploration, to my mind at least. There was always the notion that the fans looking at the supernova were confused as to how it would destroy any interstellar civilization. So the lore took that and made the confusion itself canon. Starfleet was baffled, but suspected foul play, and only the Romulans know for sure, but their government was deliberately keeping this quiet, for seemingly both classified reasons, and to exploit it to do some house cleaning. So, the cause is theoretically unknown, but I am still hoping that the event will be covered in a series at some point outside of apocryphal tales. I want a definitive answer. The idea of a Romulan experiment gone wrong and classified to the expense of their own populace works, and I believe is accurate, but I won't be certain until it's on screen. Thanks for watching this explanation video. I've been Rick. So long, and goodbye.